When you step into old-school RuneScape, you're not just entering a game, you're stepping into a time capsule of an entire era of MMORPGs, preserved and expanded upon by a passionate community. Released in 2013 as a restoration of the 2007 version of RuneScape, Old School RuneScape, or OSRS as everyone calls it, has since grown into something more than nostalgia. It's become a living, breathing alternate timeline of RuneScape, one where players vote on updates. The economy is almost entirely player-driven, and progression is defined as much by your patience and strategy as it is by the raw numbers on your character sheet. What makes OSRS so fascinating is that it isn't a streamlined MMO in the modern sense. The world of Gielinor is sprawling, clunky, and occasionally obtuse, yet every corner feels deliberately designed to reward curiosity. At its core, the game is about skilling, questing, and combat, but these pillars blend together in ways that make every playstyle valid. You might spend one day chopping yew logs and selling them on the Grand Exchange, another day fishing lobsters in Catherby, and another training Slayer to battle increasingly dangerous monsters. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the slow but satisfying progression of your character, and progression in OSRS is a very different beast compared to most MMOs today. Levels go up to 99 in each skill, and every single one is a grind. But the grind is the point. It's about setting long-term goals, breaking them into manageable steps, and celebrating small milestones. Getting your first rune armor feels monumental. Completing Dragon Slayer and wearing a green D-hide body feels like a rite of passage, and achieving your first 99 skill is a badge of honor that might have taken hundreds of hours. What ties this together is the game's quest system, which is arguably one of the best in any MMO. Unlike many games where quests boil down to kill 10 rats, OSRS quests are handcrafted adventures with unique mechanics, puzzles, and even humor. From solving murder mysteries in Murder Mystery, to fighting demons in Demon Slayer, to traveling through time in A Tale of Two Cats, these quests feel more like mini-stories with their own personalities, and many of them unlock major game mechanics or new areas. And then there's the combat. It's deceptively simple at first glance. Click to attack, eat food to heal, repeat. But beneath the surface lies a rock, paper, scissors dynamic between melee, ranged, and magic. High-level PvM, player versus monster, encounters like the Theater of Blood or Chambers of Xeric raids require coordination, mechanical precision, and deep knowledge of boss patterns. PvP, on the other hand, is ruthless and legendary. The wilderness remains one of the most dangerous and exhilarating zones in any MMO, where risking your gear against another player creates moments of pure adrenaline. What OSRS nails, though, is atmosphere. The graphics are intentionally retro, blocky, and simplistic. Yet they've aged into a kind of timeless charm. The low-poly world and flat textures become a canvas for your imagination. And the soundtrack, my God, the soundtrack is unforgettable. Every region has its own distinct theme, from the calm melodies of Lumbridge to the eerie tones of Mauritania. These songs aren't just background noise, they're part of the game's identity, instantly triggering memories for anyone who's played. The interface, on the other hand, is notoriously clunky. Menus are stiff, inventory space is limited, and the game expects you to learn through trial, error, and community knowledge. And yet, that friction has become part of the culture. External tools like RuneLite have added quality-of-life features without undermining the authentic experience. And many veterans will tell you that learning the hard way is part of what makes OSRS rewarding. Performance-wise, the game runs smoothly even on the most basic devices, including mobile, which was a huge milestone. Having the same persistent account across PC and mobile means you can log in for a farming run on your commute or fish a few sharks while watching TV. This accessibility has given OSRS a second life, attracting both returning veterans and brand new players who might never have touched RuneScape before. Monetization in OSRS is surprisingly fair compared to modern standards. Membership unlocks the full game, but beyond that, Microtransactions are minimal. Bonds can be purchased with real money and traded in-game for currency. But because the economy is so player-driven, it feels more balanced than exploitative. There are no loot boxes or pay-to-win mechanics. Progression still comes down to effort, not your wallet. Replayability is practically endless. Whether you're chasing max level, experimenting with Iron Man modes that restrict trading, or testing your skills in competitive PvP, the game never truly runs out of things to do. Hardcore Iron Man, where death deletes your account, or Ultimate Iron Man, where you can't use banks, add brutal self-imposed challenges for those seeking extra intensity. And the community, this is where OSRS truly shines. The player base is incredibly dedicated, producing guides, wikis, calculators, and even tools like RuneLite that have become essential. Developer Jagex has leaned into this by putting major updates to player polls, meaning the community directly shapes the direction of the game. Some ideas pass, some fail, but the sense of ownership players have over OSRS is unparalleled. Comparisons to other MMOs are inevitable. Where World of Warcraft streamlined progression and Final Fantasy XIV leans into cinematic storytelling, OSRS remains unapologetically old school, with slower pacing and a focus on player-driven achievement. It's less about being handed epic loot for completing a dungeon and more about earning every upgrade through persistence. And that's why it still resonates after all these years. Playing OSRS feels less like consuming content and more like living in a world. It demands patience, but in return, it gives you stories that stick with you. The time you escaped a PKer in the wilderness with one hit point left. The night you stayed up until dawn grinding firemaking with strangers at Wintertod. Or the sheer thrill of finally completing Recipe for Disaster. Old School RuneScape is, in many ways, an MMO that shouldn't exist in today's industry. It's slower, rougher, and more demanding than its competitors. Yet that's exactly why it endures. It rewards dedication, creativity, and community. And it's one of the few games where logging in feels like stepping into a shared history, one that's been preserved, polished, and expanded by the very people who play it. If you've got the patience, the curiosity, and maybe a bit of nostalgia, OSRS can swallow hundreds of hours and still leave you hungry for more. It's not just a game. It's a world you return to again and again, because in some strange way, it feels like home. That's all for today's review. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.